My presentation consists introduction, objectives, study area, methodology, result, discussion, and application. Fluorosis is an endemic problem in Rajoli subdivision of Navada district in Bihar. Navada and Gaya district in Bihar is the worst affected area of fluorosis. High fluorosis concentration in groundwater is a public health problem in India. The available data suggests that 15 states in India are endemic for fluorosis, and 5 of these have category 3rd, that is 50% of the district have been affected with the fluorosis case in Bihar and Gujarat. India is among 25 nations in the world where fluoride contaminated groundwater is creating health problem. Nearly 66 million people, including 6 million children below the age of 14 years in 20 states of our country, including Bihar, are affected with dental, skeletal, and non-skeletal fluorosis due to intake of fluoride contaminated drinking water and cooking water. This is the world map, and in this world map, we see that the blue patches indicates about the country which is severely affected with the fluorosis, and India is also one of them. The aim of this study was to determine whether a relationship exists between the groundwater fluoride concentration, dental caries in children, and their body mass index values in children living in the Rajoli subdivision of Navada. The objective of the project study is to create a database which will be used while working for meliorative and preventive measures against fluorosis in the area. The aim of this work is to motivate others, philanthropic persons, organization, corporate sector, etc. to work for the benefit of the victim of fluorosis through availability of fluoride-free drinking water and through a spread awareness against fluorosis and the like. Long-term objectives of this study is to save future generation of fluorosis affected area from the evils of fluorosis. The present study area is Rajoli subdivision of Navada district. Although other South Bihar districts like the Aurangabad, Banka, Bhagalpur, Gaya, Jamui, Kaimur, Munger, Nalanda, Navada, Rohtas, and Sekpura are also worst affected. The climate is hot and dry in summer, mild in winter. The map shown that this is the map of the Bihar, and in the Bihar the 9 districts is severely affected with the fluorosis, and these districts are Gaya, Navada, Rohtas, Katihar, Munger, Bhagalpur, Jahanabad, Aurangabad, and Jamui. This study was conducted from October 14 to March 16 in 10 villages in the Rajoli subdivision, Bihar of India. Except for some small villages, 10 villages in that area was selected for a study. The selection of these villages was done in such a way that all of them have essentially the same socio-economic standard and nutritional conditions. Most of the villages have the similar public health and dental care. All the children aged 6 to 12 in each village were examined, included in total of 700 children, 350 were the boys and 350 were the girls. The decade permanent teeth DT and the decade deciduous teeth DT of the children in each village were determined according to the WHO standard by 2 dentists from Patna using a sharp dental probe and mouth mirror under good natural light. For the fluoride analysis standard, a Spence method was used with a Systonic company spectrophotometer by following procedures. 50 ml sample of wastewater or sampled water was taken and added few drops of sodium arsenide solution to reduce the interference of chloride, then added 10 ml acid zirconyl Spence reagent, allowed to stand for 10 minutes for completing the reaction. Then observed the sample of the Systonic company spectrophotometer at wavelength 5-7 nanometer and note down the absorbance of the sample and found out the value of fluoride from the calibration graph prepared by a standard fluoride solution. This is the map of the Bihar, and the blue patches is the spot of the Navada district, and this is the Rajoli subdivision where we have selected the 10 villages. These villages are Kacharia D, Muslim Tola, Haldia Sector 1, Haldia Sector 2, Rajoli Mohalla near Police PS, Rajoli Mohalla near SDM office, Gardibaur, and Chautha. A study revealed that the fluoride level in drinking water samples of Kacharia D and Muslim Tola villages was much higher, that is 4.5 ppm to 4.1 ppm, than those in other nearly villages. Fluoride level being maximum up to 4.5 ppm. When we measured BMI scale of the people of Muslim Tola and Kacharia D village and found that they are underweight and anemic, majority people of this area are underweight or at boundary line. A few photographs showing our visit to the fluorosis affected village of Nevada is in this way. This is the photograph of the poor child who have been suffering a lot with the dental fluorosis, dental mottle and skeletal deformities. This is also the research team members in the affected area. This is the boy of the Muslim Tola whose legs are just rotated just like the circular ray. He is suffering with the dental skeletal fluorosis. This is a research team in the field. This is the girls and the boy who is suffering with the skeletal fluorosis. This is the case for the dental fluorosis, dental mottle and dental fluorosis case. So these are the picture which show that very poor person who living in those areas have been suffering severely with the dental fluorosis, dental mottle, and some boys are also suffering with the skeletal deformities. Real-time discussions. BMI weighing scale, WHO defined as the weight of the kilo divided by the square of the height in meter, and with this formula we have determined about the BMI value of the suffering child in those areas and the suffering people. International classifications according to BMI, if BMI value is 18.5, then he is underweight, severe thinness up to 16, mild thinness up to 16 to 16.99, and 17 to 18.49 the mild thinness. If the BMI value is 18.5 to 24.9, then he is normal. If 25 to above, then he is overweight. If 25 to 30, then he is pre-obese. And this is the way that we have determined about the which is the underweight and thinness or anemic value boys or the girls in that area. Waist hip ratio is also very important to determine the BMI value. For male, it should be 0.9 to 0.95 meter, and for female, it should be the 0.8 to 0.85 meters. Our team, which had earlier extensively studied the cases of fluorosis in some fluorosis endemic village of Venkateswara block of Nevada district of Bihar, has recently undertaken BMI study of many of the dental fluorosis victims of these villages. This is the boy of the BMI value 13.01, so it is very thin and underweight. This boy is the BMI value 16.26, so he is also underweight. This girl is 12.40, this girl is 17.36, this boy is 15.83, this boy is 16.22. So we see here that major numbers of the boys and the girls living in those areas have been lower BMI value due to fluorosis contamination. The study reveals that the relationship exists between the groundwater fluoride concentration, dental mottle, dental caries, and BMI value in children living in the study area. It was found that the fluoride level in the village drinking water measured by Spence method range from 1.5 to 4.5 ppm, while the number of decayed permanent teeth (DT) per child ranged a larger, and the number of decayed deciduous tooth a small DT is almost common. In this study, we examined the relationship between dental mottle, dental caries, skeletal deformation, and BMI value in children, and the fluoride content of the groundwater used for drinking and cooking in 10 villages of the Rajauli subdivision. This is the map of the fluoride concentration in Rajauli subdivision, and you see that the Kacharia D and Muslim Tola villages have the very high fluoride level 4.5 to 4.1, but the Haldia sector has a very low 1.5 permissible value range, and the Gadibor and the Chautha is also the very high value. We have determined the various factors of the girls' child at first, and we found that for the Kacharia D and Muslim Tola villages, the DT and the skeletal deformity value is very high, dental mottle is also very high, and the BMI is also lower because the fluoride concentration is very high. But for the sake of the Haldia sector 1 and Haldia sector 2, we see the fluoride concentration is lower. That's why the permanent teeth decay is lower and deciduous tooth is also lower, and the numbers of dental mottle cases are very fewer, and the BMI value is also comparatively better because 17.6, that is very close to the normal weight. Chautha village is also very low. When we also make the graph for the BMI value, when we see that the BMI value of the Kajriya is very low, 14.8, 15.0, and for the Haldia sector 1 is 72.6, and Haldia sector 2 is 16.5, that the BMI is higher. When we draw the graph between the girls DT value and the fluoride concentration, then we see that as the concentration increases, then the permanent teeth decay also increases in the girls. Skeletal deformation is also in the same ratio that the concentration of fluoride increases and the skeletal deformation also increases. And when we combine with these 3 points, then we see that the Kacharia D village have the very high deformation case and the suffering cases, but the Haldia sector is very lower. Similarly, when we make the, sorry madam, 2 minutes. For the boys, then we also see that as the concentration of fluoride increases, the suffering numbers also increases. So we see here that if the fluoride concentration increases, then the more and more boys and girls suffer in those areas, and that's why our real discussion is that as the concentration of fluoride increases in drinking water, dental caries, dental model and skeletal deformation among the girls and the boy children also increases. So we should provide the facility for those areas from the government agency that the boys and the girls and the suffering people should get the fluoride free drinking water in those areas. In the above figure, some correlation pattern persists when the fluoride concentration are plotted against the mean overall tooth decay data for the 10 villages regardless of the age and gender. So, our humble submission that the created database will be used while working for enumerative and preventive measures against prevalence fluorosis in the study area. The study will motivate other persons to work for the benefit of the victim of fluorosis. The study prime application is making the area fluoride free drinking water to the village. The long-term objective of the study is to save fluoride generations from the evil of fluorosis in the affected area. Thank you very much.